Hello and welcome to our Accountability in Action series, where we talk to business owners and community leaders about industry insights. Today, we have a very fun episode where we talk to Jonathan Yeager and Christopher Trendler from Decades, and we are joined with Daniel Massey, our CPA and principal at the Walls Group. It's a very interesting conversation where we talk about the behind the scenes and challenges of running a hospitality business here in Lancaster. It's an episode you won't want to miss. You guys ready to get started?
Sure.
Yeah, we have lots of fun questions, so I do appreciate all of you being here. This is a fun Accountability in Action podcast, and we're excited to talk to you. When I asked Dan who he wanted to interview with, and he said some folks from Decades, I was super excited because I'm a huge fan of Decades. So we had our party there for the tax season, and Dan absolutely crushed me in bowling, so that was great. I was dead last.
What was your score?
It wasn't very good. It's under 120.
Okay.
But you got
It
some
wasn't
strikes.
great.
You
some
got over
strikes.
100. That's good.
Yeah,
Yes.
last year I was at like 140 or 150. So I mean that's like a 25% decrease. That's not great.
Do you have like the high score for
Yes,
bowling?
we
Yeah,
do.
who's the high score?
I think it's 260 something, maybe 263. Yeah.
I saw that. I mean, it's hard to get a strike on those pins. Like, I mean, 260 is like 10 straight strikes.
Yeah, you got to
involved
get
somewhere.
used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our first bowling tech, when we first opened, he's a full-time engineer at Armstrong Ceilings, and he has 300s in his lifetime.
Wow.
Yeah, he used
They
to
give you a
manage.
ring.
Yep.
Oh,
He used
Get
to-
out of here.
Yeah.
Yep. He used to manage 2 bowling alleys, I believe, before
Oh, wow.
he started.
So you had some
full-time.
practice.
Yeah.
Loves
Yeah.
bowling.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's part of Decades, right? There's some bowling elements, but it is so much more than that. So why don't you tell everyone who may not have been there what Decades is?
Sure. We are a 6-lane boutique bowling alley with a full retro, like token operated arcade with a bunch of 90s, mostly games, but some of them range from 70s to early 2000s. And then we also have a full service restaurant. So it's a night out in one stop.
It's really an experience.
Yes.
Yes. I've celebrated many birthdays, occasions, things like that. So I loved Decades. And can you tell me about the history? I know there's some cool, it used to be an artillery warehouse, correct?
Yeah. So it started out as an artillery warehouse from the National Guard. It was built in 1928, and then in 1937, and that was just the drill hall. And then in 1937, they built the front, it's like a T formation, which apparently that was something that they built all around the country. And so it'll be 100 years in 2028 that our space was there, which is really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
How did you pick that space?
Well, it was going through a number of buildings. So 10 years ago was when we actually started working on Decades, because our other business partner, Adam, his dad found out that the Chameleon was up for sale. And we took a tour of that in 2016. And that's kind of like what we're like, okay, I guess we're going to try and start doing this. And then we looked at the building across the street, which was, I guess it's Limitless.
It was Empire Furniture.
Yep, it was Empire
Oh, wow.
Furniture. We were under contract for like 6 months. We had an architect and everything.
Yeah.
And then the owner decided he didn't want to sell. So we had to kind of start over, and L&P got wind of it. They wanted us in basically where Mosaic is, underneath where the press
Going to be.
where the press is.
Yeah.
Yeah. They said they were going to be done 2019. So we thought about it and then kept moving on.
It seems to be the perfect space, though. It seemed to work out
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not easy to find a building that you can fit 6 bowling lanes in.
Yes.
So our availability for buildings that would work for our business model it's extremely limited. We're down to it was 5.
Yeah. And I think the way it was found is Adam, our other partner, went into Google Maps and just looked at large buildings from the top.
Huh.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's how we found it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Dan, I know since there is so many moving parts that have to do with the experience such as decades, how do we as their accounting advisors, how do we advise and work with an organization like that?
Well, there's various ways that we do that depending on where you're at in what your needs are. I mean, as you know, our goal is to tailor our services to meet our clients where they're at and what their needs are. So kind of depends on where you're at in the life cycle of things. And it's different when you're starting off, something like that. The first couple of years are different. Obviously we went through COVID together. I mean, that was a different thing. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit, but, and then there's, growth opportunities and, there's tax planning. We've talked about entity selection. I mean, there's all sorts of things that, that we've done. And it just kind of depends on, where these companies are at in their life cycle and what their goals are and what they're trying to do. For decades we do, you guys do handle a lot of the payroll and bookkeeping internally, but we do kind of a month-end cleanup, some reconciliations,
Quarterly stuff.
Yep. And then do some tax planning and tax returns and individual work.
And how long have we been working with decades?
So I think you guys came over to us like right
6 years.
after the pandemic started,
Yep.
right?
I think
like mid 2020.
Our first year,
After our first year,
after our first year.
we weren't super confident with our numbers, and that's not a good spot to be as a young business. So we decided to make the move. We had met Dan. I was going to make a joke that today was the first time I met Dan, but that's so far from the truth. Very nice to meet you, by the way. So we met with Dan, and we felt very confident that Walls Group would do a different view of how our accounting was looking. And since then, we have a lot more faith in our actual budget, our month-end numbers, our quarterly stuff, and the advice that, we specifically work with Dan and a couple of people at Walls, but just Walls Group's advising on how we're kind of looking at our own analytics and data has been extremely interesting. Our other business partner, who we should stop mentioning because he's not here, is an economist. So his insight into our business is based on essentially magic.
Yeah.
And like thought, he's a doctor, he's a smart guy. But the things that he will bring up to us is like, well, that hasn't happened. Like we're not, that's the potential of the business. That's not what the business is right now. Like you can't look at things like that. So Dan is always looking at like how we've done and recommending how we move forward. So I think those two approaches, between Dan's advising and Adam's forecasting really wind us up in a really good spot. And Adam's been really good at forecasting, but it's just hard to plan for stuff that may not happen, and we don't operate that way. So
Well, and having the numbers is one thing, but knowing what those numbers mean, projecting in the future, I'm sure that's a whole nother ball game. And
Magic.
Dan helps. Yes, Dan helps with the magic touch, right?
Right.
Yeah. So what are some of the operational challenges you have when you have so many different components in this type of business?
Yeah, essentially that's the main one. It's 3 businesses
Yeah.
that operate at the same time, and we are very busy. Our busy season is like half the year, from late fall through early spring. And then we've added other features like the ice cream bar last summer, which is now open for a full season, already open on weekends right now until Memorial Day, and then we'll go 5 days with that. So there's just a lot of moving parts on an average day. And that includes, all the kitchen operations, all the bar operations. Then you have arcades layered into that, and then you have bowling. We do get busy to the point where we're first come, first serve for everything we do. But that winds up stacking up to be like a wait list. So there's always people kind of queuing to do, the bowling or waiting for a table. And we have things to keep them occupied with those other entertainment opportunities. But just clearly communicating is extremely difficult, and people are we also provide a ton of distractions for them to not look at their phone to see that their table is ready. So I think just all the moving parts on a day-to-day basis, and then clear communication along the way with our guests, with our coworkers is always one of the hardest things to achieve regularly.
And you host a lot of events as well, too.
We do a ton of events.
Yes.
So, corporate parties, birthdays, wedding adjacent businesses, or business like we have a lot of rehearsal dinners or like welcome parties, that kind of thing. So yeah, you tuck those into our normal operations, and that could potentially shut down one little area of the restaurant, which just complicates everything else. And it's all good stuff to figure out, but it's definitely a lot.
Yeah, it complicates it, yet sometimes it can make things a little bit easier too.
It's true.
Oh, can you explain that further?
Like if we shut off one area of our dining room, it just allows us to know exactly where we can place people and just make things a little bit easier for the front of house.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. How big is your staff?
Right now we have 48 people on payroll.
Okay.
That includes Jonathan and myself, because Dan made a recommendation to go from our partnership entity formation to an S Corp just this past year. And we've seen a lot of benefit from that. And that's something that Dan started pitching to our ownership group like 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yep.
And Jonathan and I benefit the most from that from a tax perspective. So thank you, Dan.
Yeah,
You got it.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because that's what we do. We advise businesses on the best way to structure ownership as well. So how did you come up with that decision, and what did that process look like?
I don't want to say it was blackmail, but
It's like, we're doing this.
yeah,
Me neither. So one of the things that I think I try to do, and I think the firm tries to do, is we're going to present ideas, but then we want to lay them out to you and show what the impacts of them are going to be, because there are some changes to that. Like you had to be on payroll, so that was that was a change. Like there's some tax benefits, but there's also some additional administrative things, and you had to fill out a W-4. And I remember you guys loved doing that.
It's been a long time.
Forms, yeah.
it has been a while.
Yeah.
I've never paid my taxes, also, just as a side note.
Cut that from the podcast. We'll just
No.
My dad was a CPA, so I've
really?
I've been
Okay.
very consistent with that.
So you understand the world a little bit.
Unfortunately, a little too much.
But you guys were set up as a partnership, which made a ton of sense when you first started, and it got to a point where we're just looking at the tax obligations from that setup, and it I thought there was potentially a little bit better way, and kind of laid it out and said, hey, these are going to be the impacts to everyone. And as you noted, you guys were some larger beneficiaries than some of your other owners who aren't as actively involved in the business. But we made the move, and I thought it made sense. And I'm glad you're happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd that conversation go with the owner group?
It was terrible. It was a huge fist fight.
Just
It was
fights a
fun.
decade.
No, the first time he brought it up, it was, oh, yeah.
I think
And that
we
was
just-
it.
Yeah, I think we just didn't really revisit it.
And he was definitely campaigning for our benefit, and he brought it up again the following year. And then it was more of like, this is what it would look like, and this is what it would do. And ultimately, everyone decided that was the right thing to do. And then we still waited 6 months to do it. So, through no fault of Dan's or anything, but change ripples throughout the company. So anytime you make one little move, it can be a big impact like that. So,
But one thing I appreciate about you guys is you're super discerning about those things.
Yep.
I certainly didn't take any offense that it took a couple years to make that decision. Like you wanted to make sure that it was the right thing for you at the right time. And I think the team that you have in place, you talked about Adam, but I mean you guys, and you got some other owners that bring all sorts of different thought processes to it that I think really makes you a good, well-rounded team.
I would agree. And that's kind of how it started with the three of us, with the beer fest. We started that, and that's the first thing that like Joycat did, that was bringing it into formation. And we always say that our backgrounds are so different professionally, and then we know each other pretty well. So the combination of our three opinions always winds up being the right move. Yep. Even if someone's super passionate that you're wrong, we find find like that middle ground that works, and then incorporating Bree and Mike Callahan as our investors in our ownership group. It's really just more of that with even more varied and different experience in their professional background. So it's been super valuable. And then, with Wall's group, anytime we're planning something big, we mention it to Dan way before we actually pull any triggers. and then he kind of says, well, this is what that's going to look like. And we're like, I don't want to do all that. But then, we wind up kind of moving down the road, and either it doesn't pan out or we already know how it's supposed to be set up when we actually do that. So, yeah.
And how helpful is it to have a team, an advisory team on your side where you can ask advice and make these decisions?
Yeah, without wanting our pricing to go up, it's been pretty valuable. That's not... Yeah, your pricing doesn't fluctuate like that, does it?
I don't think we ever raise our prices.
Yeah,
It's based totally on the satisfaction of the client.
Yeah, it's satisfaction-based
satisfied,
scaled
right?
pricing.
Yeah.
it's just really great to have another sounding board like Dan.
Yeah.
The three main partners, Chris and Adam and I, we have a really good sense of what we're doing most of the time. And then, once we talk with the full partners, there's always a lot more questions that come up. And then sometimes we'll call Dan in the middle of a partner meeting.
Yeah.
Just to get an opinion.
Yeah, I'll call him. He won't answer.
Yeah.
Then Mike Callahan calls him. He picks up on the first ring. But that's fine.
Yeah.
I really should have your partner meetings on my calendar
Right.
because
You should be there then, I guess.
I need to block them off so I know when to get a call.
Yeah.
We don't call you that much.
No.
And
But it
Jonathan,
happens.
has anything surprised you about running a business like this?
Yeah, I think every day there's surprises, really. But overall, I would say post-pandemic, a lot of the surprises was just the turnover in the restaurant
a
business.
different
And
world.
staff?
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of changed directions in their career paths, and this was one of them. And I think that has probably been one of the most challenging things for us to retain newer staff, because some of them might not be used to high volume places like ours, and might be a pretty big surprise for them. But I do think we do a pretty good job of retaining staff, and we have probably 5 or 6 that have been with us since day one.
Yes.
So
There's definitely familiar faces that I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
I know who makes the good drinks. Moon, right? I think they
Yeah.
won an award. if
Yep.
I'm-
Yeah.
What was that award for?
That was Velocity's cocktail
Velocity,
competition
okay,
in the
yeah.
fall, and that's the official cocktail of the city as declared by the mayor.
What's the cocktail?
It's called One Night in Saigon,
Oh.
and it's a wacky...
Yes.
You've had it?
My fiance's had it. He loves that savory.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
a savory
Yeah.
cocktail that is kind of like a version of pho,
Yes.
the Vietnamese
Yep.
soup.
Mhm.
And so it definitely feels like, if you like a Bloody Mary,
Yeah.
there's some savory.
Yep.
It's a little sour, so it fits that mold.
Yes.
It's not for everyone, but I mean, I think it's polarizing, and that's what we like that on the
Special.
menu. 'Cause
Yeah.
it
It's
definitely
unique.
is a conversation starter.
it's unique enough to want to try it once.
Yep.
But your espresso martinis are definitely one of the top in the cities. I think there was an award as well for that, or an unofficial vote.
It's
Uh,
possible.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Well, you have my vote.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yes,
we do
yeah.
know that it is a popular
Yes.
drink.
I would
Yeah.
agree that it's up there.
Yes.
And that, I mean, everyone, you have to make a good espresso martini these days. So
Yeah.
And is there any difficulties having alcohol involved with your business, or anything behind the scenes? you
not
can tell the
I
viewers.
wouldn't say it's crazy. I mean, the PLCB should I say this? As an entity is a little wacky,
Sure.
and some of the things that they decide to do. But anyone that serves alcohol has to navigate that stuff. But no, I wouldn't say so. Just because our leadership team is really solid and has a ton of experience, and that allows us to take a younger bartender and help advise, making sure that they're serving people
Yes.
properly and engaging with them, and making sure we're not over serving someone. So yeah, I think we just have a good amount of experience in our core leadership group. That's not a huge issue.
And decades has been about 7 years, over 7 years, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
7 years as of March of 2019.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And I want to dive in a little bit more to the challenges. I know we talked about some of them, but I'm sure every restaurant experienced this during COVID. So how did we as an advisory team help them through the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly one of the things I'm most proud of. And that was, it was nice timing for us stepping in there, because that gave us an opportunity to really, the pandemic had a lot of, obviously there's a lot of negative aspects to that. But one of the good things about it from a service standpoint was we got to know our clients so much better, because, you're going through the worst thing that's ever happened in the life of their business, whether they were 20 years old or 1 year old at that time. And, I thought that got us connected really nicely off the bat. And, we were helping you through PPP and ERC, and you had Restaurant Revitalization Fund,
all the three-letter
opportunities.
ones.
Yeah. So, that was good. And I'll be honest, we had a meeting, and I'll never forget this. We had a meeting at Bree's place of work. It was one of your partner meetings, and it was like, the ones where we come to and just kind of discuss some tax stuff and cash flow and how we were going to cover some things from, there was debt negotiations that we were dealing with because of, reduced cash flow and all those sorts of things. And, this was kind of as we were coming out of the pandemic a little bit. And, we left because you're continuing your partner meeting. And as we were walking out, Bree says to me, she's like, we never would have made it without you guys. And like, that's probably like the greatest compliment I've ever gotten in my accounting career. And I hadn't really thought about that before then, but yeah, I mean, that was a crazy time, and there was, lots of competition for, in some cases, limited funds, and, glad that we were able to, kind of help guide you through that and help with some of the applications and forgiveness,
filling those
calculations and
applications
things like
out
that.
properly was huge.
Dude.
Yeah.
Lots of paperwork.
It was a huge deal. And I will say, I feel like at that time, you guys, Walls Group, this was impressive to me. It was like, we're not taking new clients. We had just switched, and you're like, well, there's so much going on. We have to navigate this whole pandemic. Like, we're not taking new clients for like 6 months or something like that. I remember hearing that. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like, thank God we got in when we did.
Yeah.
And because our whole situation, it was a total disaster with, our whole business model is based on
People.
lots of people and, having them all in one spot and being there for a while. And it was those were dark days, but also kind of like, it worked out as best as it could. I mean, we really, with help, navigated that so well.
I think a lot of what was helpful for us is we had a pretty large space too. So, you had to like distance tables like 6 feet away and stuff like that. But because we had such a large space, it allowed us to have more people in the building.
People felt more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
I would
took it
agree with
very
that.
serious too.
That's true too.
So,
Yeah.
How was that experience like for you?
It was, this gray came
Was it from
that.
COVID? Yeah.
Literally every week we were allowed to do just one extra thing, and we were just literally trying to muddle through how can we make this like anything good. And we didn't offer takeout our first year. We didn't have outdoor dining our first year, and then they sprung on us that you can do to-go cocktails during the pandemic to support restaurants, because literally everything else is to limit person-to-person contact and restaurants in general. So
that's where our famous
our cocktail pouches came from COVID.
Is that where they came from?
Yep.
Oh,
our
wow.
takeout program, the whole revitalization of what we've done out in our front yard for our outdoor space, and now ice cream bar. So all those things were rushed to get something out there, and then picking it apart and making it better slowly over time.
And did you find that the community really came together to support you?
They really did.
Absolutely.
There were people, the cocktail pouches were an easy one to sell because everyone wanted them, and sometimes
Like
the liquor
alcohol,
stores were closed too.
Yeah.
So takeout in general. Though.
Yeah, a lot of people were supporting us in takeout. Our holidays were like immensely successful because we were doing like holiday meals that you didn't have to do anything except pop it in the oven.
Oh, wow.
And the pandemic was not, unfortunately, a short amount of time. So we did a few holidays in that format, and
We also
saw a lot of same faces.
we also did breakfast.
I was going to
Yeah.
bring that up because
So-
we ordered breakfast from you
Yeah.
guys a couple of times.
Yeah, and it was pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
we had a lot of regular customers too through that, but we ultimately, after things opened up, we kind of were like, well, we need to get back to our regular schedule, and we couldn't have like super long days like that with our staffing. So,
Yeah, because we essentially, we tried to maintain as many people as we could on payroll, but
I think it went down to 7.
at the end of the day,
It was
Oh,
7 of
wow.
us.
there were so many different times within the pandemic where step one was like the recommendation was like cut all the staff, and then PPP was like picking up steam, and we're like, oh, well, you want to pay as many people as much as you can, and then they'll reimburse you for it. And we're like, oh, okay, well, let's get as many people back as we can because that's better than unemployment for them. And then but it was also like, well, you have to pay everyone, and then they'll reimburse you for it. Like maybe if you fill out the forms correctly, 8 months later or something. So it's just like a nightmare
It's back and forth.
of logistics. And between Walls Group and I will throw out a little shout out for Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association.
Mm-hmm.
The information that we got from those two sources alone basically was what allowed us to navigate
Yes.
this thing successfully.
Yeah.
Because everywhere else was just, you just don't know
Yeah.
the information, how valid it is, and if that's the best recommendation. So, yeah.
And
We
how do you?
watched-
Oh, go
I was
ahead.
going to
Yeah.
say we watched so many webinars.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
I'm sure.
How to save your restaurant.
And everything was a webinar.
Yeah.
And how do you learn about these new offerings that you can then bring to clients and say, hey, have you heard of this? This might benefit you.
That's the nice thing about being in a firm. I mean, we've got 7 partners. We've got a number of professionals and CPAs, and we try to share that information. Someone has an idea, and we share that. Hey, I did this for this client,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden that's just another tool in our toolbox. But there's also we have to do continuing education. So I mean, we find out about some things that way. Reading. I mean, there's tons of journals about
Yes.
accountancy and taxation and things like that. So it's a perpetual learning
Yes.
situation.
And things are constantly changing. So,
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And I wanted to ask, like, what other financial complexities in hospitality do you experience that other people might not really understand or know?
Well, it's a tough business, and there's typically not a ton of like office time built into what a restaurant owner or operator has to do on a daily basis, because that's just not the role that we fill. So actually having the time to do the accounting or bookkeeping and payroll and do it accurately and cleanly is a struggle in itself. When the industry is typically like long hours, late nights and things like that. So, that's always been a tough thing, is like, oh, well, I'll do payroll when I get home on my day off,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. And
Also, maintenance on, like, because we're not just a restaurant. Like, our games always need maintenance.
Yeah.
Bowling lanes, everything. So I think those are other financial complexities that we have compared to most restaurants.
Yeah. Not to mention, inflation, rising prices, fuel prices fluctuate, and you just everyone has to pass that on to someone.
Yes.
Or you just decide to make less money, and that's a decision that we weigh all the time. And we try to be very fair with our customers, but we also see out in the community, just anywhere you go, it doesn't feel like anyone's passing savings. So that's a tricky world we live in right now with that.
Well, I do know that your tokens have sort of remained the same price.
Yep.
And that is one of the things I think people really do like, is that they're affordable, because you can go to arcades, you have kids, how expensive they're, like $2, $3, $5 a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you
We don't have
navigate
swipe
that?
cards.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And we're not redemption based. It's just
Yeah.
social
Right.
gaming. So,
Yes. Yeah.
there is no
Tacky
plushy
prizes,
price or
yeah.
anything like that behind it. But yeah, I would agree with that. I think we have always wanted to be like a choose your own adventure date night and entertainment complex. And I think, you could go in there on a Tuesday, or I'm sorry, a Wednesday. We're not open
Tuesday, right,
on Tuesday. You could go in there on a
try.
Wednesday, play, $5 worth of arcade games, get an appetizer and a drink, and leave for a pretty inexpensive Wednesday. But you could also go in and do everything and be there for the entire day and spend a different amount. So I think we're flexible in that, when you're there, you're our customer, and whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
we'll do it for you.
Do you sort of build that into your business model?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, having all the games be 1 or 2 tokens was a big part of our business model to attract people,
Yes.
especially if there's wait times. You have something to do.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a quarter to play. Yeah.
We're also so flexible because we see ourselves as this thing where we have all these things and that's what we are. But, Dan and his family might be like, that's our favorite restaurant.
Yeah.
We just go in there and we eat and then we leave. Mm-hmm. And then you might come in for our espresso martinis and that could be your thing. So
the truffle fries.
Yeah.
And a game of basketball.
Yep.
And that is my perfect night.
And there's a few people that come in and bowl and then they leave.
Yeah.
So it's we are the average customer is so different from the next customer to them that you just we just have to be so flexible in how we approach each person.
Yeah, I think Lancaster community is a special one, right? And I think that they show up for people and they support businesses that they know and like and love and trust. Mm-hmm. And I know you have some initiatives that you just started, your charity for donations for the pouches. You want to talk a little bit more about that? Yeah,
we coined that our Decades Gives Back program. Yeah. So in the past, we've done like celebrity bartending things, and we would work with a nonprofit, and I don't know if we did it every month, but we might have done it like every 1 to 3 months. But historically we would give money back from sales from that night, but we just felt like it wasn't enough, so we created this program which we started 2 months ago. So for the whole month there's a nonprofit that we're going to be helping, and $1 from every one of the specific pouch. Yeah. Every $1 from that pouch will go back to that. And along with that, we have the celebrity bartending event as well. Okay. So, yeah.
Who sort of started that idea? Where did that come from?
I think it was a combination of, we meet all the time. So it was a combination of like, how can we do this? Came out of a meeting.
Yeah, I think our marketing director was kind of spearheading that a different approach might be more beneficial to the actual community and the nonprofit partnerships that we're trying to cultivate. Because we were like, it's one night. How many people can go out that one night? Mm-hmm. And then you have a featured pouch, but you might not like that pouch. You might want to drink that. So like,
then you're writing a small check.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel
right.
like an impactful donation. Yeah. And everyone was always super grateful and likes the exposure that we bring to it because we promote things so well. But yeah, I think this different approach is going to yield a lot more like actual assets going to these organizations, and they typically really need that. Yeah. And we're happy to. The first month was our biggest donation we've ever made. So
that's
great. We're really excited that
it's working.
It seems to be on the right track.
It's also easier to plan for as well.
We have a month
and market. Yep. Yeah. And then, we donate all the time. Yep. On top of that, we get a lot of donate requests for people who are having raffles and stuff like that. So we've been doing that since we opened, and we feel like even doing that, we donate like wooden nickels. So they're like $5 in tokens when someone comes in.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I think that is really helpful for helping them while they're helping us at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Dan, when a business comes to you and says, we want to do this initiative, how does that process look like for you? And were you involved in this conversation as well?
I don't think we talked about this one a whole lot, but it's not. I mean, it's
I've been meaning to talk to you about something.
Probably should talk, right?
We gave away decades to a charity.
Hope that's okay.
But yeah, I mean, this is obviously a great initiative. It's not necessarily life changing in decades trajectory or anything like that. So it didn't require a ton of input from me on this. But anytime an organization is looking at a new initiative, if it's going to be a big deal, we want to make sure that we're planning for it. In this case, it's not super consequential to your bottom line. You're going to get a little better tax deduction on those sorts of things, but that's not necessarily the reason to do it. The reason to do
How
it
should I
is
code those in QuickBooks? We have terrible donations
What are the
line.
codes?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what
absolutely.
I've been doing. Okay, yeah.
That was his question.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a real question. Okay,
You're gonna see that
all
line go
right.
up, which is great.
Well,
Free accounting advice.
sounded like it. Yep. Yeah, we did an hour-long podcast just to ask that one question.
Are we being billed for this hour?
I was going to say, you just did it so you could get off the clock.
Well, you did ask a question, so yeah. So there's not too many changes that would go in
Not in
something
this
like
particular
this.
instance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna bill you for this hour also. Just kidding.
Hey, that's fair. I mean, I definitely appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do
Sure.
this. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk more. I know you have the ice cream patio. You have really fun activities. You have the Pokemon experience that you had. So how do you continue to innovate?
Well, our marketing director has so many ideas, and we all always have so many ideas, and we structure these big meetings. We did one at the beginning of this year, and a lot of it does revolve around like, what can we do outside of like our normal business. So the creative ideas that come out of those are amazing. There's just a lot of really some things are things we probably can't do, but
There's some really dumb ideas.
there's some really dumb
great
ideas.
Yeah,
But overall, that's kind of, everyone always has ideas, and that's what's really cool about our staff is they're always coming up with ideas and asking everyone like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? So we started to like formulate these things into like committees.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So out of these committees, new ideas come, and we meet every week on Thursdays as like a management team, and at the end of that meeting we usually talk about, is this something we want to move forward with? If not, then we just move on. But I think we have a long list of innovative ideas that we could be doing for decades.
Yeah. I mean, there's no shortage of things to do here. We have
No.
a very fun, exciting, special community here.
Mm-hmm.
Do people in the community come to you as well with ideas?
actually, they do.
Yeah. He says
No. I mean, there's always suggestions and feedback, and we always listen and see if we can apply something. I don't know that we've come up with I don't know. Was Mean Girls Night? Did that come from? No, that might have been internal.
I think it was internal.
Yeah, I'm actually going to follow up. I'll let you know if
Okay,
we've had like a themed night come from a customer suggestion. It is very possible. But yeah, we hear stuff all the time and apply what we can.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, you also did a sort of bar hopping between different restaurants as well.
Yeah,
That was
the
last year?
Halloween.
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
The
It
bar
was the
crawl.
Halloween bar
Yeah,
crawl.
so who
Yeah.
kind of comes up with those ideas?
I think that was Tony.
Okay.
Yeah, that was definitely Tony, and
Yeah.
Tony spearheaded that too. He does a great job with that. We are always collaborative with other restaurants. We also spearhead the planning and execution of Lancaster City Restaurant Week, which just concluded.
Yeah.
And that is myself, Jonathan, Tony, our marketing person, and maybe one or two other volunteers that have been with us since we started that. So we're constantly in touch with all the restaurants multiple times throughout the year about Restaurant Week. So it does lend a good line of communication. So there are some restaurants that just kind of hit us up with, hey, what do you think about this? And at the time we were kind of talking about maybe even sharing some marketing expenses with some other restaurants that were nearby us and kind of trying to get some traction on the uptown
We did.
thing. Yeah,
We did an ad with Fig.
And
Oh,
I think
nice.
Yeah.
just them meeting and discussing, and we're like, well, let's do a Halloween bar crawl. And it was so busy. Like for us, it was like a busy Friday night.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And our Friday nights are probably not typical for like a 30-seat restaurant or like
Yeah.
something small like the Coffin Bar. We have a 12,000 square foot gym.
Yeah.
So
right.
our businesses are very different. But this bar crawl impacted every single restaurant to the point where they were like, it's so big. Like they were like, this was great, but like, good God,
Yeah.
and we were like, yeah, this is kind of like how we.
Good problem to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
But,
a lot of that is the marketing.
Yeah.
Tony
Yes.
does a great job with getting the word out there.
As a fellow marketer, I can concur.
Yeah.
Yes, I love seeing your stuff.
Yeah.
So do you find that the Lancaster community, especially this hospitality scene, like really does work well together? Would this be the same maybe in a bigger place like Philly?
I think it would be harder in Philly.
Yeah.
Maybe they could do it in their neighborhoods, but
Yeah.
I think Lancaster City as a whole isn't, it's not that big compared
Right.
to Philly. So it's a lot easier to have that hometown.
Yeah.
Yes.
We all know
feel.
each other.
Yeah.
We all go to each other's restaurants as patrons. So I think it is maybe a little more unique to Lancaster City, just how close knit the hospitality industry is. Then I don't know what Philly's looks like, but
Yeah.
I can't imagine that they're that close like they are here.
Yes. And we have a big foodie scene, art scene, entertainment scene. So what is next for Decades? Where do you see future of things? Any exciting initiatives?
Well, we've been
coming
meaning to talk to you, Dan.
I think Dan's aware of things behind the scene that are happening. Without saying too much, we are looking into another location.
on? Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
So
Not in
that's
Lancaster.
Yes. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yes. You'll have to stay tuned for
Yep,
more
stay tuned.
details,
Yep.
right?
We met with Dan like 2 years ago about this. Right?
Maybe even, we've been talking to Dan for probably 4 years about it, but yeah, it got real about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And how do you involve your CPA in that conversation, Dan? How does that look like for you as well?
So they, call up and say, hey, we've got this opportunity. It's something we're thinking about. You guys called us pretty early in it. And then, there's a number of things to talk about. We talked earlier about you guys started as a partnership. You went to an S Corp. Like, okay, if this is a new, thing, what entity is it going to be? And is it going to be under the umbrella of Decades? Is it going to be a separate entity? And that's, we talked about the liquor license before,
Yep.
and that came into play there and how that works. And then,
And one entity can't own 2 liquor licenses. So,
Oh, okay.
right. And then, talked about, what real estate looks like and, we renting, are we buying, how all those things come into play. And, so there's a number of things that you go through and you put together what you think is a good plan. And then, the situation changes and you gotta revamp
Yes.
it, and you just gotta kind of see where you're at. So it's a partnership, and it's a continual conversation as
yeah.
things change. But yeah, I think we've had good communication throughout that process.
Yeah, that's awesome. So a lot of exciting things. I definitely appreciate all of you for joining us, giving people a little behind the scenes on who Decades is. So it's a personal favorite of mine. If you haven't checked it out, definitely go check it out. So we have our tax season party there every year. We had a great time a few weeks ago. So thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, guys.